Hello. So today I'd like to talk about Dead Space. So Dead Space and I have an interesting relationship. I think EA launched a Dead Space cartoon, like anime movie tie-in when the game launched. So I didn't have GameFly, so I'm like, oh, I'll just Netflix this, and then judge the video game based on the quality of this, which in hindsight seems like a terrible idea. In fact, it probably was a terrible idea at the time, but I think I was really busy, and so I was looking for an excuse not to play a game. Which sounds weird, but, I think that was, during one of my very numerous periods of crunch. So, I had a huge game backlog, and so if I can say, oh, this is something that I don't want to play, it's like, that's less, more time to do other things, I guess. Well, play other games. I mean, just because it's like, so many games I've never played or didn't finish playing. Anyway, I guess I can talk about that later. I don't know how interesting that would be. But, anyway, so I didn't like the anime movie. I'm sure it was very low budget, and I doubt it would sort of inspire anyone to play the game. I don't know why they did it. Although now I'm almost tempted to rewatch it, now that I quite enjoyed Dead Space. See if I have a finer appreciation for the animated tie-in. Okay, no, that seems like a bad idea. But, the thing about Dead Space is Joe, our artist, was a big fan. Those are sort of his favorite horror games, and I say horror. There's my double quotation fingers in quotation fingers because I felt like then, and I still feel like now, is that they're too actiony, at least for my taste. I think a lot of people do like the action horror sort of fusion, but just to me, if I'm sort of a Superman, with superpowers and cutting limbs off enemies left and right, it's not as scary. I don't feel as threatened, and so I mean, I think they had sort of a really great idea that Isaac Clarke is an engineer, and so it's like, hey, I'm an engineer. I have a degree from the College of Engineering at University of Michigan. It's like, I suck. I suck at everything, right? Like, you put me in a room with aliens, I'm gonna just get destroyed. It's gonna be a joke. But then, unfortunately, the engineer, well, I guess he seems like he's more of a handyman, and all of his handyman tools are, super laser gun destroying enemies. So, which works for the action set pieces, but again, it's not as vulnerable as I like. So, I played through, well, all three Dead Spaces, but I don't want to talk about Dead Space 3. It's dead to me. But, I sort of played through the first two begrudgingly and sort of grumbling to myself, like, this is so actiony, I'm an old curmudgeon, true horror, this isn't true horror, but, like, I couldn't stop playing them. Like, I played them, through them very quickly, in terms of, over a period of a week or two or something, which is, pretty impressive for me. So that really should have been a sign that I was digging them. But then, even still, like afterwards, I was like, oh, Dead Space, so actiony, not my thing. But it kind of is my thing because I find myself, thinking about the games and what they did well. I think they did a really good job with the audio and they had some really scary and tense environments, and they did a lot of really smart things with their setting. Like, I feel like they really sort of explored the scariness of space, which I think is terrifying, and I haven't seen the movie Gravity yet, but I'm really excited to, and I think that's sort of, following in those lines of, space can be scary, this vast nothingness, and they did like things with the audio when you're in space, and uh, yeah, and I mean, I think that even the story was smart. The whole sort of, I don't know if they, deliberately said they were basing it on Scientology. I thought they said that somewhere, but it really did sort of have this Scientology uh, cult feel. The Unitologists, I think it was called. Although, I mean, their end game was bizarre. I don't know what sort of religious beliefs wants to like merge in a giant pillar of humans or something. I don't even know what was going on with that, and I forget which Dead Space, um, but still, I think that added sort of an extra layer of depth and made the world more interesting and feel more real because I think people are always going to have religious beliefs, even 2 million years in the future. And so I think, in making that a part of your, sci-fi world is a smart idea. And certainly I think it plays well into the, plots, which I think, I mean, they weren't, super compelling, revolutionary, but I think they were definitely, held the game together well and were interesting. Yeah, and the eye scene in Dead Space 2, that's all I'm gonna say. That was awesome. So anyway, if you can stomach the action aspects of horror games, and I think the action, the core gameplay is done well. But just again, it's like you got action game in my horror pudding or whatever. I complain. But no, I think Dead Space games are definitely worth a try. It's kind of funny. I was thinking like, man, I wish they ported those games to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 or whatever, and had the higher res textures and super high quality graphics. I think that I guess I could play the PC versions. I think I played them on Xbox 360, but I heard the PC ports weren't, all that special. They didn't really, make it any better. But the idea of playing like a, better graphics Dead Space was really sort of appealing to me. But I don't know if that will happen. But I can wish, I can dream. I'd like to see, and I expect we'll see a lot more sort of ports, from previous gen to this gen, and certainly Sony was the most proactive about it. But I think I feel like that's a pretty wise business decision, especially because there's no, backwards compatibility, and it's a lot cheaper than creating a new game. And potentially can get some more interest in your franchise. Although I don't know, I think EA has more or less given up on Dead Space. Anyway, that's it.